Hi friends, Tiffany here. Welcome to my quilting life. Today is December 5th, and we are on episode 23 of Breakfast at Tiffany's. So welcome to Breakfast at my house. Today you are watching a pre-recorded video, but I am down in the chat to talk with you guys about whatever while I sew this up. Before I get started on anything, I am going to overview everything that I have done so far because I think I may have confused not only myself, but all of you out there. And I did write everything in the description below the last episode 22's video, but I'm going to go through it all so far, what I've cut. So what you need to make the Jellyroll flight quilt, which is this lovely quilt behind me. Isn't it so beautiful? It's magnificent. Anyways, we're going to use one Jellyroll. That's 40 or 42 pieces. We're only using 40 of the strips for that. 2 yards for your background fabric and your border 1. So I just used 2 yards of a cream. And then 1 1/4 of your accent color, which would be these right here, and your border number 2, which I'm going to be making bigger than this one is. So that's why I gave more, just so that the quilt's a little bit bigger. Using borders to make it bigger is a good thing. Okay, so the first thing I did was I separated out 20 of my Jellyroll strips. My Jellyroll had 2 of each. So I had 2 strips that look like this, then I had 2 strips that look like that, and so on and so forth. So I made 2 separate piles so that I had the 2 of each so that I can match my half square triangle units with the row that the color is in. So I separated 20. From the remaining 20 Jellyroll strips, you're going to cut off of each strip. So each strip you're going to open up and you're going to cut 2 2.5-inch squares off of each strip. Then you're going to cut 2, no, you're going to cut 1. Sorry about that. See, I'm already screwing up. You're going to cut 1 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangle. So you'll have a total of 40 2.5 by 2.5-inch squares to make half square triangles, and then you're going to have a total of 20 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangles from each strip. Those 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangles are going to be what's right here on this side and on that side, okay, which is my wings for it to fly. That's what's making it fly, other than the in-flight half square triangles. All right, from the background, see, I had pre-cut before the video last week, or not last week, the week before, I pre-cut some squares so that I can get started quicker, not thinking that I should make sure that I had the right amount, and then I confused myself while I confused you guys. So from the background, for the 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangles, we're going to cut 5 4.5-inch strips off of your background. And then you're going to subcut that to 60 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangles. 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangles. 40 of them are going to go for the block unit that we're making, which is this. And then the other 20 are going to go for those outside pieces that you see. Okay? Then we're going to cut 7, and this is where I think I screwed up because I didn't remember how many pieces I cut. You're going to cut 7 2.5-inch strips, 7 2.5-inch strips. And then you're going to subcut that to 100 2.5 by 2.5-inch squares. 100 of them. You'll get 90. Yeah. You'll get a whole 100 and something, 100 and whatever. You don't have to cut the whole thing. Just count them out as you're cutting to get 100 2.5-inch squares. 40 of them are going to go towards making the half square triangles from the Jellyroll, and then 40 of them are going to be making the half square triangles from your accent. Then from your accent, you're going to cut 3 2.5-inch strips, and you're going to subcut that down to 40 2.5 by 2.5-inch squares. Again, that makes our lovely little half square triangles. Okay, so I'm hoping that I unconfused people. I'm hoping that worked. And then again, I'll put all the description down in the, I'll put all the info in the description again below this video. Anyways, Then we made our half square triangle units, which I saved to make a couple more for the refresher so we can make these units real quick. And then I'll show you how to make the whole unit again because we're continuing off where I left off. That's why the desk is a mess and everything is everywhere. So I'm going to go ahead now and bring the camera over here, and then you can just watch how I do that. I'll tell you how I do those. Then I'll run them through because I chain piece everything. And I'm not 100% sure I'll fast forward or not. It depends on how long it takes me to do all this. Like I said, it's not really that quick of a quilt, but it's a quick quilt idea. So it could be done in a day. It can. And it will, because I will finish this. All right, so let's bring the camera up close. Okay, so the quick refresher on this, and let me just grab one of these so that you can see. We used a 2.5 inch of your accent and also of your jelly roll strip. We put them right sides together, and then I said to draw a line from corner to corner, or you can use your seam tape, and then you would line it up and sew on both sides of that drawn line. So that is how that is completed. And then you split it in half and then make your 1.5 inch half square triangles. I made them big like this purposely because, well, I'm using jelly roll anyway, so it really didn't matter. You'll have extra, you'll have enough fabric in case you accidentally cut wrong. There's a big amount left over of each half square triangle. So hopefully you can do that good. Then once we make and trim and press all the half square triangles to the dark, we're going to lay them out just like this. So they're all going to face one direction. I like to lay them right here in front of me, up towards the right. And I'm just going to take 2 of them, place them right sides together, and run it through. Take the next 2 right sides together, run it through, and then I'll just lay out the next 4 in front of me. And like I said in the last video, you could bypass this part and just keep it as 2.5 inch squares. If that is the case, then you would only need 1 2.5 inch cut off of every piece of your 20 piece jelly roll pieces. You would only need 1 2.5 inch square from this, and then you would need to cut 20 of your accent. That way we blend that border color in. So now I'm just moving to the accent because this is where I left off. I'm just going to sew these through exactly the same. And I'm just putting them through in sets of 2, and then we'll turn them into sets of 4. This is definitely relaxing to just sit here and sew these if they all go the same way. You can turn on some tunes, or you can watch one of my videos while you do this. I do a little bit of both when I am sewing in my room on my own, unless I'm filming a video. When I'm filming a video, unfortunately, I am stuck in here in silence because sometimes we need to hear what I'm saying, like right now. So right now, I'm literally talking to myself while I am in the chat, watching myself talk to myself. That's the weirdest thing. I never do that. But I really wanted you guys to get this finished because I don't like starting and then not finishing a project. And, it's been 2 weeks since. So I'm just going to slide these all through. And then I'll give you the math and numbers for all the rest of all the cuts once we get beyond this step. So, hopefully everybody's Thanksgiving went well. Since it's not Thanksgiving for me yet, because I'm pre-recording this, I'm hoping we're still going to our friend's house, but we'll see. If not, Scott and I will figure something out, but hopefully everybody had a lovely Thanksgiving. I'll probably tell you in the chat what I did. But then you'll probably see me the Sunday after Thanksgiving anyway, so yeah, there's that. I'll probably have told you what I did then. Big plans for Christmas, though? I could tell you what we're doing for Christmas this year. We are going to have enchiladas. Oh, wait, that's nothing new. I do that every year. You'd think I could sew these faster, but because they're smaller, they're a little bit more finicky. Well, you know, for some people. For me, it's a little bit more finicky. Sometimes you could just lay it right over and it's perfect, but I cannot do that with these because they're small. You can only imagine what I do when I do my tiny piecing. I spend a few minutes per each piece. And I have a remainder of 2, so I must have did something wrong. That's not supposed to happen. I must have miscounted. I'm telling you, I am something with numbers and counting lately. I cannot do it. We're going to find out right now. Here's 2. I'm going to snip apart 2 because those will stay together. Every 2 I'm going to snip apart. We're going to see where I screwed up here. 2, 2. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What, am I just losing pieces? Did I lose a half square triangle on the floor or something? All right, let me find it. Because there's a single one left. That means I lost one on the floor. You know, I didn't lose it on the floor. It was literally right in front of me. You guys were probably yelling at me, Tiffany, no, there's 2 pieces right there. You were, weren't you? I thought maybe I sat on it or something and misplaced it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and press to the right and then the bottom one to the left like this, and then just put them right sides together and run them through. Literally nesting the seams up, holding it nice. All right, so I'm going to run these through first before I run the other ones through. That way I keep them all together, even though it really doesn't matter at this point. So I just do this. Takes 4 half square triangles to make one of these little 2.5-inch flying triangle thing. I already forgot the name of the block. I knew it last time in the last video, but today I have no idea. Flying something or other. In flight, that's what it is. Whew! Took me a second. There's probably other names for this block, but that's what one of my books calls it. Okay. Try not to drop all of my pieces and lose them like I just thought I did. I'm just making sure I have a 1/4-inch seam with these though, because we do want them to be 2.5 inches. You can press your seams open if you want. That's up to you. I don't find it any difference to press them open or to the side because I'm not matching up half square triangles next to half square triangles, so we don't really have to worry about anything when it comes to any more bulk from these things, because we're just putting these next to solid fabrics. So, trying to think of a topic. What does everybody want to know? Well, I can do some commonly asked questions. Well, the number 1 commonly asked question that runs in the chat, in the comments, and by email, everything, is what kind of machine do I use? Well, this machine right here is my everyday sewing machine. I make everything on this machine when it comes to quilts. It is a Juki TL 2010Q. It is an amazing machine. I will put a link for it down in the description below this video. Another commonly asked question, how long have I been quilting? Well, I have been now making quilts for 8 years, a little over 8 years. Time has flown by. This hobby really has 100% helped my sanity. It has helped my MS. Like, I literally can keep myself so distracted with this that I can manage to just work through lots and lots of pain. So for the last 8 years, I have been doing this and I absolutely love it. I think quilting is a great hobby to have. It is expensive, so it's not for those that are on the most strictest of budgets, but you can make quilts using clothes from the thrift store or using old sheets. You could make quilts out of anything. That is what I did when I first started. And you know what? It works. It's making quilts. It's keeping you creative. And we all enjoy being creative somehow, some way. Another commonly asked question is, how did I get started on YouTube? Well, I didn't even know videos existed on YouTube at first. So there was that. But then out of the blue, I found Missouri Star Quilt Company on YouTube. And I made a couple quilts from their YouTube channel. And I said, well, you know what? I want to chat with friends. Let's see who's on here. So I had made a video about how to make a wheelchair cover, and that got so many views. I mean, not viral or anything, viral for viralness, but viral for me. It got so many views that I was like, huh, I can sew on camera. So I started sewing at night once everybody was asleep here, out in the garage on live stream, before they had a cutoff of how many subscribers you needed to have before you could even live stream from a mobile. So I was doing that in the middle of the night, making friends here on YouTube just by sewing things and showing you guys what I was learning how to do. And then, oops, that way. And then it just kind of blew up from there. As soon as I made my way to sewing in the house, because it was too hot in the summertime, I was sewing in my bedroom, and I made lots of quilts in there. I had really, really horrible video quality, like the worst video quality. Now it's a lot better. I can't say that it's perfect, but it's a lot better, and it's as good as it's going to get until I can someday, get a whole camera system set up. For now, this works for me, and I am not technology. It's not my friend. I mess everything up. I mean, I even can't do YouTube sometimes because I don't know how to bypass whatever YouTube has going on with the pre-setting live streams. So I'm definitely not technology inclined when it comes to that stuff. But eventually I will be. And I don't mind making and editing videos though. But that's how I started my YouTube channel, because I didn't know you can have, sewing on here and people would watch it. Let's see, another frequently asked question. I'm trying to think of frequently asked questions while I show you my little blocks. So you can see my points match up as best as possible. You can see my triangle wasn't that great on that one, but you know what? I really never cared about that kind of stuff. Oh, that one came out perfect. But, so now I'm going to go ahead and press all this, and then I can come back to the machine since now I am editing. I can actually come back and sit here and show you how to make what I'm calling blocks, because technically it's a block that's going within the strip units. So, all right, so let me press this real quick. All right, so now we are going to make this block right here. So every single one of these are going to be made exactly the same. You're going to have one of your accents and one of your fabric, your Jellyroll units, one 2.5-inch square, and one on each end of a 4.5-inch by 2.5-inch piece. So a 4.5 by 2.5, then your 2.5-inch unit, then a 2.5-inch square of background unit, background unit of your Jellyroll, and your background of that. So we're going to have these facing the same exact way. So every single block is going to be the same. So what I'm going to do is chain piece every single one of these right here through, just like this. So I will go like this, put all of my backgrounds through real quick. all facing that same exact direction. So it'd be easier if you just stack them all next to you facing that direction, like this. And then grab a stack of these right here, my 2.5 by 4.5 inch pieces, and then just run all of them through just like this and chain piece them. And again, like I said, it didn't matter which way you pressed your seams because you could see that we're not nesting anything up from here on out. The only thing we'll be nesting is when we put the whole block, the pieces together with the larger pieces. And I think the camera is wiggling and I cannot control that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't control that. I'm very sorry. If the camera is going to be next to me, that cannot be controlled. I will move it though. I'll go back the other way so that you can see after all these are sewn. Making sure that that bigger piece is always on the bottom. And the Jellyroll piece is always, the accent piece is always on the top. Wow, it's really shaking. I'm very sorry for that. All right, after this one is sewn, then you want to check your first unit again. Okay, make one unit so that you remember. Now I want to make sure that all of these are facing in the correct direction. So I'm going to sew all of these now, right sides together with a 2.5 inch square like this. And sew all those through, but we're going to move the camera to do that. Okay, so this is so much better because then it doesn't rattle and shake. So I'm going to place this right here next to me, making sure that all these units are stacked in front of me facing that same direction. I'm just going to make sure they're all facing up like this, like that, this, like that, and like this. All right. Then I'm going to take my 2.5 inch squares and put every single one of these on top of that 2.5 inch square. And then when we pull them off, we'll attach the other side and then attach the whole entire thing. Then press everything. I think it's a lot easier this way to chain piece them all through first, then to press them all. I find it easier at least. I kind of find that when I chain piece, I seem to get more done faster than if I did one single thing at a time. So when I make patterns, other people's patterns, my own patterns, I tend to chain piece everything. It to me seems a more logical, idea. In the beginning, I did make everything one at a time in the beginning. Everybody learns that way. Once you get used to it and you've made your first, second, third, fourth quilt, then you realize, you know what, there's a faster way to do this and more efficient way, saving on thread for one, and kind of time saving too, because if you think about it, chain piecing everything, if you only have 30 minutes twice a day to sew, in that 30 minutes, if you're chain piecing the whole one step, then that's complete. That whole step is done in that 30 minutes, So when you come back to sewing, then you have more time, another 30 minutes to get that next step done. So it kind of makes sense to do it this way. So now I have done those. I'm just going to come back to the beginning of these right here, just like this. And I'm going to put my 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangle on the opposite side now of only these ones. I'm going to leave the accent ones out of it for the moment. I'm just going to set those right there out of the way so that I'm just only putting these rectangles on the other end now. So just going to open them up, hook them on right here, just like this. everybody get to catch my newest pattern last Tuesday? I definitely love it. That one was a really fun make. Although I really screwed up because I was filming before I even knew and talking before I even knew what I really needed. I tend to do that. If I don't make an example quilt for you guys, if I don't make an example quilt first and then film for you guys, I actually am winging it. So sometimes I have to go in and I have to change voice over what I previously said. So that way, you know, the right number or the right amount or the right size needed to be cut because I kind of improvise at first. I probably could leave it blank, but if I did, then I would forget what I'm supposed to be saying that next section, if that makes any sense, you know, because I'm like, what am I doing? While I'm editing, you know, I look at the screen and I'm like, what? Okay, what was I doing here and why did I cut that? So I kind of talk over it at first so that I remember at least what I'm doing and why I cut something. So hopefully it wasn't too confusing, but I did put everything in the video and all the cutting instructions and everything. The sewing instructions are always visible. Or there's a word, I can't think of it. Verbal, visual. So all the instructions of sewing it is always in my videos. Everything is always visual. Verbally, it's always there. Every once in a while, I do the, you know, description with everything in it. And even rarer, I write a pattern. But Karen, my friend in Ireland, writes all my patterns for me. Well, at least what she can from old videos and stuff. So there's always a PDF if you join the Facebook group. So if you are on Facebook, even if you're not fully on Facebook because you don't want it because of the drama, at least you know that my patterns are there. So there are patterns there, downloadable. If you really, really need it, you join Facebook and do that. All right, so I'm going to grab this stack. I'm going to keep them hooked. And then I have this stack. I'm going to keep them hooked. I'm going to take the 2.5-inch square side and attach that now to this side. So I'm just going to flip it over. I'm literally going to chain piece these through just like this. I know seem like I'm making a disaster here, but in reality, I am not. I'm just opening them up and sewing them together, one right after the other, so that I don't get anything turned around. I'm pretty sure there is plenty of us out there that get stuff turned around and then you get frustrated. I don't want to be frustrated, so I'm just going to open these all right here, just like this. What I have to do is open the bottom. Look at that. Bottom, lay it on top, and we're making the units just like this, all chain pieced together, saving on thread. Look at that. Thread costs a lot, I'm telling you. Scott went and bought me more long arm thread. It was on sale, which was kind of cool because it was the store anniversary, so obviously it was on sale because everything's on sale when they have their anniversary sales. But normally it's expensive. So we do everything we can to save. This is one of those things that I do. I make quite the chain piece. It's kind of funny, actually. Oh, I have one over there. I gotta grab that piece over there. Oh, that already had a 2.5-inch square on it, too. So I might have to rip it off. Come on. Seam ripper. See, I started these things last week. Or not last week. Why do I always say last week? It was the week before. 2 weeks ago. Let's rip that off and save that. We try not to use the seam ripper, so we put it away. If it's out of sight, we usually don't screw up. Just put it away. If you don't see it, then nothing will happen. You should be good. That's the secret to my success, okay? bottom, that goes on the top, and then I have one more. And then we can snip this madness mess apart, and then I will take it over and press it, and then we'll be ready for the next step. Finally, we'll be ready. That almost sounded like Yoda. I'm probably won't be able to do that voice again. All right, so I snip these apart, and I shall have a total of 20 units that look like this. They are all exactly the same. Every unit should be exactly the same, and I should have 20 total units after all that. There's a lot of seams or threads to cut here. There's 4 because everything was chain pieced. 3, 4. You probably might want to do this all one at a time, but you know me, I'm trying to save time. All right, so I'm going to press all these nicely, and then we're going to move on. And oh, I got to remove this off the wall, so 2 seconds. All right, next step. We have all of these complete, all 20 of them. Now we're going to take our 20 jelly roll strips. If you have a design floor or design wall, that would be the best way to do this. If you just want them to be all willy-nilly, go for it because it probably is going to look nice. I'm going to go now ahead before I cut anything, and I'm going to lay all of these on the wall how I want them to be. So I'm just going to put them in an appealing fashion that makes, beautiful sense. Doesn't matter as long as we have some kind of direction going on here. Just put a dark blue there. And there I go dropping things. Go figure. It wouldn't be a Tiffy video if I didn't start throwing everything on the floor. All right, we'll put this guy here. Let's put some of these. There's 2 different ones of these. So some of them seems like there's more of that same strip, but that is a darker color than that. So weird. And same with the blue ones. One is darker than the other. So I'm just going to put all 20 of them here right before you on the wall. Trying not to think too hard about it, but I don't want to have both of these exact kinds together, and I don't want to have both of the ones with the birds on them together, even though there's more than one of the ones with the birds. I don't want them super direct next to each other. That one's too busy for that. Let's just put one of these bluer ones. Then that one. We want all 20 of them up somewhere on your floor, your bed. You just want an order. Because if you don't have the order, then you don't know which size you're going to cut, because the next step is cutting the sizes from the order you chose. If that makes any sense. Oops, we don't want 2 of those next to each other. So our chosen order is what decides the next step. These right here. And this one here. And then this one right there. So I started it and ended it with one of these. I could have gone like 3 in and then had the green, you know, or whatever, but that's how I'm going to do it. I think that looks good. Actually, I need to swap darkness out. I need to put the green one here. Put this lighter one right here. Does that look good? Obviously, you're not literally right here, but I'm pretty sure this looks good because I'm going to choose it whether you tell me in the audience if it does or not. Now we're going to start. I think that looks good. It looks blended. Good enough for me? Good enough for me. What we're going to do is we're going to start with that first one. From your first one, you're going to cut 2.5 inches. And I left the room for a second. I turned everything off. We're going to cut 2.5 inches off of the end. That's 2.5 inches. Then we're going to take it over to the machine. We're going to find that matching color right here. And I'm going to start it with, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to start it with my accent color on top. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the 2.5 inch square to the one side like this. If I can stay threaded, you know. Now I just need to find a threader somewhere around here. Ah, found it. You know, I left it like this so that you guys can see live, just like we're on a live stream. And then that other end, I'm just going to leave this attached. The other end, I'm going to put the other cut on that end. I'm going to go ahead and just right sides together and run that through. 1/4 inch seam. Now in between all these, you can press now or you can press later. I'm pressing towards the jelly roll because they're not going to match up. So I'm going to go ahead and put that first one here on the wall. And it should stay. And I'm kind of crooked. Now we're going to take this next one. The first one was 2.5. So this next one, we're going to take 4.5 inches off of it. So we're going to take our ruler, cut off 4.5 inches. Like that. And then I'm going to find its match. I probably should put all the matches next to them. That would be the smart thing to do. It's here somewhere. Somewhere in this stack. I must not be seeing it. We're going to call it on. This one's the bigger one. Right? Because there's a bigger one and a skinnier one. I need the skinnier one right here. Found it. All right. This next one, we're going to have the color. So if this one had the accent, the next one is going to have the jelly roll color. I'm going to go ahead and put the 4.5 inch on the one side, okay, on the top part. Slide that through. Grab the other end of this while it's on the machine and attach the other cut to it, the leftover or remaining or whatever you want to call it. Okay, just going to finger press for now. There, and just finger pressing towards the jelly roll strip. Now we're going to place this back on the wall, just like this. So when you go to sew them together, the seams that are going to nest are going to be from the jelly roll or from your pieced things that you have made. All right, so that's up there. So we're going to take this next one. You guessed it. We're going to cut 6.5. So I'm going to find its corresponding one real quick first. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and find all the other corresponding ones. All right, that one goes with that one. I'm literally going to put it below it. This one is not that one. This one is this one right here. Just going to put the matches with the matches real quick. That one's the darker one. We'll go here. There we go. They're all in their corresponding colors now. Now all I have to do is grab, cut, sew. Grab, cut, sew. So this one is 6.5. So we're going to line up the ruler, cut 6.5. I'm going to take the one side. We're going to make sure that purple is on top this time. So my purple is on the top. So I'm starting with the purple. I'm going to attach that first, which is my accent. So I'm starting with my accent. I'm going to take this other end and put it on here. Then we're going to finger press and place it back on the wall. Okay, so the next one, we're going to pull down. Obviously, you're seeing a pattern here. So 2.5, 4.5, 6.5. Next is 8.5. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a bigger ruler, and we're going to cut 8.5. I'm going to make sure that I'm getting 8.5 by turning the ruler. We're also, before we do anything, we're going to make sure that the color is proper. So this one is going to be that Jellyroll on the top. So I'm going to put this 8.5 inch cut on that top part. I'm going to slide this through. Then I'm going to take the other end and slide that onto sew that onto the bottom. I'm going to go ahead, snip, fold back, put it back on the wall. So now you understand what I'm doing here. 2.5, 4.5, 6.5, 8.5. Then you're going to go to 10.5. I just ate. That's the only reason why. 10.5, 12.5, 14, 16, 14.5, 16.5, 18.5, 20.5, so on and so forth, all the way down. Most of the cuts you can just lay it on your cutting mat and cut at the number on your cutting mat until you get to the last ones. Then the numbers get a little bit bigger for the cutting mat. I think 36.5 is the last cut. I'm not 100. Don't quote me on that. I'll put it's 40.5. I was going to say, I'm going to put it all in the description below the video under the cutting instructions. But right now, at this point, I'm actually just going to slightly fast forward you and talk to myself while I put these together. So you'll just watch me do that in a little bit faster of a speed, because or else this video is going to be longer than 2 hours. Here we go. Okay, so what I had done wrong is I cut this one at 14.5 and this one at 14.5. I messed it up, so I had to go around and move, or this one at 12.5 and this one at 14.5 because I was backwards. So now, this is how I just have to keep remembering to go 2.5, 4.5, 6.5, 8.5, 10.5, 12.5, 14 and a half, 16 and a half. So I already got a 16 and a half inch on the wall. I'm going to check that off, then move to 18 and a half, or else I'm going to keep messing up. So this one should be 18 and a half. So I literally am just going to line it up on the line, on the cutting mat, come over to 18 and a half. I would say count them first and then go, because it's going to get confusing. The more length becomes on this, and then these ones become shorter on the bottom, you're going to confuse yourself. All right, so this one starts with the accent color. So I'm going to put the smaller one on top. And the bigger one on bottom. And it's going to change soon because I'm almost to the half of a Jellyroll size. The half of a Jellyroll strip, I mean. So as long as I remember or look at the wall to know which part goes on the top is always because I remember which piece goes up here from the previous one. That is why I say lay it out on a wall or a bed or a floor and do each piece one at a time. All right, let's fast forward this again. So I just did 18. So now we're doing 20. Okay, so I just got thin. You notice I screwed one up again, but okay. This gets a little hard with the cutting, that 40 and a half inches, because your most mats only go to 36. So it gets a little harder on those last few, but what I have found is if you lay this out on the mat like this, it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be trimming anyway in the end, because not all jelly rolls are exactly the same length. It could be the same line, same fabrics, but not every single strip is going to be the same length. But I have found if you take this, and let me make sure that you're even in the camera frame. We're going to just lower it a little right there so you can see. If you smooth it out on a line like this on your cutting mat, and then you place your lightweight ruler very carefully on that 36-inch line, and then you pull your strip like this very carefully. You're not adjusting the ruler at all. You're going to line this. Like I said, it's not a complete science to this, but then you're going to line that up so you know this is 36, so that your next one would be 37, 38, 39, 40, and then you would cut your half. So you would just move the ruler very carefully with your piece. And if you're using a Quilter's Select ruler, it stays to the fabric really nicely, so you can just slide that right over and then count from there on. So let me grab one. We're going to make sure for a fact, but say you have your Quilter's Select ruler and you lined your strip up on a line right here. You know everything's straight from here to here. So you're going to lay this on your 36 right there. See, yep, it moves really nicely. The fabric hasn't adjusted, so that way you can take it over to a straight line and then cut, you know, now you know that's a straight line, and you just move over the couple inches that you need. Again, it gets a little bit harder for 34.5 through 40.5 because 34 is really at the edge of this, and anything after 36.5 isn't even on the mat, only 36 is, if that makes any sense. So those last few pieces are a little bit harder. But now, as you can see, and it doesn't even end with 2.5 inches. It ended with about, I don't even think that's 2 inches. So like I said, you're not going to be able, this is why I couldn't start with 2.5 on this end and go up and then meet in the middle at, 10 and 10 with a specific size, because it won't allow it, if that makes any sense, because we're trying to taper it. So we're going to be trimming these straight. So let's get to that part, which is, we're just going to move right on. 2 seconds. Moving right along. Let me repeat these really quick one more time. 2.5, 4.5, 6.5, 8.5, 10.5, 12.5, 14.5, 16.5, 18.5, 20.5, 22.5, 24.5, 26.5, 28.5, 30.5, 32.5, 34.5, 36.5, 38.5, and 40.5. Now the fun part is you're just going to sew these like any other jelly roll strips. So you're going to take 2 like this. Except one thing that's different is when you put them right sides together, you're going to nest the seam. So I want to just hold this up so you can see right here. We still want them lined up at the end as best as we can. But first we're going to nest that seam between the next starting of color. So this is a color, this is a color. That next one is going to go in that blank spot. So we're just going to put them together right there. And I am going to nest that seam and put, this is the part that I don't normally do, but I did with the last one too. I put a clip on it. Then I'm going to go down and nest that next seam. And everything's pressed towards the background, so it should all nest right up. So there's 3 seams right there. I'm going to nest all 3 of those. And you can see right here is not even starting at the exact edge now. It's literally 1/8 of an inch difference. As long as that's flat when I start and those are done, the rest of this does not matter. So each time you're adding that next strip, you're going to start further down. But we're going to put these together in 2s, then in 4s, then in 8s, and so on and so forth. So let me start this strip. And I knocked my thread out again. I keep knocking it out because I'm standing to work with you guys here today. I'm just putting too much wind past this. So it's just knocking it right out. All right. So I'm literally going to make sure that everything is nice, and it is. Lining it up. I got my clips on there. I did not press. I haven't pressed these yet. They're just finger pressed for now. Well, I'll press the whole entire thing. You can go ahead and press if you want, but I'm really bad about the whole pressing thing, so I just skip that step. Sometimes finger pressing is just as good. So now I'm just moving my clips out of the way, going on down. I'm going to try to keep my seams from flipping because that's going to create bulk, and I didn't stop that. And then I'm literally going to sew it the rest of the way. And yes, I can continuously sew while standing up too. That's one of my frequently asked questions. How do you continuously sew? It's just a thing with my fingers that I do. All right, so at this point, now it can go to the iron when it's in its set of 2, like this. I'm just going to finger press for now, but now it can go to the iron and be pressed. It doesn't matter which side. It can go to the right, it can go to the left. It does not matter at this point because no matter what you do, there's going to be a little bulk, and I'll show you right now. So they're together. If you press it to this way, it's going to be bulky right here on that side. If you press it this way, this is going to be bulky on this side. So it doesn't matter if you go right to left. You could also press the seam completely open if you want. That is up to you. But now that I have these two sewn together, I'm just going to put them back up on the wall because I don't want to lose my order. Obviously, I do need to press, and I will eventually get to that part. But for now, we're going to take the next two, and I'm going to do that same exact procedure. Once the right side's together, I'm going to find those seams, those 3 nesting seams, and I'm going to put them together. We're always tapering down. I did make the mistake of sewing one of the strips on my last quilt where I didn't start with it down and I started sewing and I was like, oh, that doesn't even match. So make sure you nest that first. You can even put more clips up here on the way up. The longer your piece gets, put some more clips on the way up. I'm pretty confident this is going to be okay about right here. So I'm going to start sewing it. I'm going to remove my clips, trying to keep my seams from flipping because that just creates bulk. And then from there at the end, I can continuously sew all the way down, using my fingers to adjust the strip as I go. Over the years, that does take practice. So, I mean, I wasn't able to do that right off the bat. It does take practice, but that's a common question. How do you do that? So I'm going to go ahead and I think what I'm going to do is probably fast forward this a little bit so that we can get past this section here. I'm going to get all the 2s together all the way across the whole entire thing, and then I think I'll press them, and then, so I'm going to do 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. It's an equal number. There's 20 strips, so it's an equal number all the way across. So I'm going to get all the sets of 2 done. I'm going to put that in fast forward, and then I'll press them all, and then come back and we'll put the 2s into 4s, 2 into 4, 2 into 4, and then 4 into 8, and so on and so forth until we have our, I think we'll have one last remaining the way that works out, but we will make it work. So let's get to sewing these up in a second because I need a break. Now to press. So I'm just going to do from this end that way, so that way I remember what order I'm in. So I'm just going to grab these and take them over and press them. So they're now in 2s. Now it's time to turn the 2s into 4s. We're literally going to pull them the same way. So I'm going to take 4 of them, pull them the same exact way, lining them up like this. And what I'm going to do is nest these seams. Again, the next one staggers down, staggers down. You can tell if your ends are close to being together, if they are lined up properly. Just going to put some clips on all these seams right here. And I'll just put like 2 down here since I'm standing to sew. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead, slide it under the machine, and continue on. So once they are together like this, I'm going to go ahead and press. It doesn't matter to the right or to the left. I'm just going to open it up, press it back, then sew the next 2, 2, 2, and so on. So here is the main portion of the quilt, all done. So each one was nested, and I painstakingly put clips on it all the way down. You know, you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes because this one, these strips will start to bow if you don't do it a specific way. We don't want them to bow. And as you can see, mine are pretty darn straight. That's why I sew 2, then 2, then 2, then 2, then the 4s, and you know what I mean? That way it keeps everything nice and straight. My jelly roll had pinked edges, which stuck out just a little bit, but this did not. So this centerpiece kind of loses its way just a little bit, but everything else still stayed pretty straight. I just had to watch for the pinking as I was sewing with my 1/4 inch seam. So there's that. Let's move on to the next step, which is building out and up and down and all around. But the first thing we need to do is trim this. So I am going to, first of all, make my next pieces. Then I'm going to trim everything to a specific size from that next set of pieces. So let's get to some cutting and then adding. So let's go. Okay, so we had set aside these 4.5 inch by 4.5 inch by width of fabric strips. And I'm going to go ahead now and subcut this into 20 off of here. So I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm cutting 4 at a time because we have 2 strips here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so there is my 20 that I need. And then we have this extra piece here times 2. Okay, and then we also have this extra piece from the original cuts from the sides, which down here you can see on the screen. From here to here, the ones that we cut from there, we had a long extra piece of that. So we need these pieces, what we are doing next. So we took our jelly roll strips, and I told you to pre-cut these in advance. I did not, because, you know, I'm just behind on everything. And what we're going to do is take the 4.5 inch off of all of these in the beginning of today's video. I actually told you to do that. We're going to take off 4.5 inches from each and every one of these. I'm just going to do a couple at a time. That way my brain doesn't lose it, because that's all I've been doing. Like, where's my rotary cutter? Look at that, hiding way over here. So I'm going to go ahead and take 4.5 inches off of all of these strips. I already did these 2. Let's move those over there. I'm just going to keep going down until they're all done. So I'm just going to take these 2. Both of the ends are lined up. 4.5 inches. So they're 2.5 by 4.5. Move those over there. Take 2 more. I'm going to cut this one a little funky. That way I can get this end straight again. Those are done. 2 more. I'm literally just doing this very slowly, like, so that you guys can see. Cut these off in the beginning, though. When you cut your 2.5 inch squares to make your half square triangles, go ahead and cut your 4.5 inch, your 24.5 inch pieces. That way it's already cut. Instead of, like me, I was trying not to be too far ahead on the video previous to this, you know. But sometimes it happens where I end up, you know, behind on another step. That's why I complete a lot of stuff off camera, but I wanted you guys to see every single step. Come on, just stay nice. Just 3. And the last of these. I'm just going to cut a roundabout number right here, turn them all around, and cut off to 4.5 inches. And that should have got it all. All right. I now have my 20 pieces. And what we're going to do is, you can do it one of 2 ways. You can split these up just half and half, 10 for one side and 10 for the other. Or you can look at your quilt. Right here you can see down on the screen, because I tilted the camera. You can look on your quilt and see from 10 this way what colors are here. So if I wanted to make this correct, I have one of these on each end like this, and I can literally put them in the order that they are hanging up. So that one was not number 2, it's this one was number 2, and then this one's number 3, and then where am I at? A dark blue. Where's that one at? That was number 4. Number 5 is the gray one. Number 6 is one of these. Number 7 is this one. Number 8 is this one. 9. And then the other side was, oh, the pink one. Where are we at? Where's the pink? The other one goes this way. And then this one. And then the darker blue one. And then this guy. And then, so I'm doing mine the way I have everything laid out. Then the lighter, and this, and that, and this, and that, and then that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is how this is going to work. You're going to take one of these, and you're going to put it at the start. Sew these two together, then add that. So add the next one. So let me just sew these together so you can see, and then I will speed through these. So I have these. I'm just going to press it towards the background. I'm going to grab another one of these. Oh my goodness. Go in between. Sew that on. So you're just making dashes, background dash through it, you know. So then I'm going to press it towards here. So I'm pressing them towards the dark colors. Then I'm going to add my next one, and then a white, and then the next one, and then a white, over and over until all of them are sewn up. So after that, I'm just finger pressing for now. Grab another one of these. Until you have them all sewn up, and you're going to put 10 in one row and 10, you're making 2 rows of 10. 10 Jellyroll rectangles. So just keep doing this until the whole stack is used up. And I'm going to go ahead and fast forward it for now. Okay, so once these are sewn, you have something that looks like this. This piece that we cut off of the end, the last and final piece, you're going to hook that long piece to the end. I'm going to tell you this, everybody's Jellyroll quilt is going to be, the Jellyroll flight quilt is going to be a different size at this point. So I can't give you a true number. So that's why we're just hooking the excess to it, and that is one side. So I'm going to go ahead now and re-fast forward it to sew all these together and make the opposite side. We didn't want to have to use our seam ripper. It was out of sight, out of mind, but it looks like I missed sewing on a piece like a dum-dum. Unless it's from the other one, but I don't think so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. All right. I knew something was off here. Now to press it and this. So I'm going to press these, everything to the dark color. So I have sewn these, and what I want to do is attach these, because I'm a dummy, this direction right here. But you can see it's too long. This is what we're going to do. This seam right here for this piece, we're going to nest up right here on this piece. So I'm going to need a clip, 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 clip right here, clippies. Why do I put things away while I'm working? I don't understand why I do that, but we're going to clip this right here so it nests right before the white section. So you can see it's going to hang over on the top. So I'm just going to nest this seam right here, put a clip on it, and leave it right there for a moment, because the more clips I add, the worse it'll be. And then it should be close enough to the bottom, but it's still going to hang over. There's 2.5 inches on there, but we're going to be trimming this to the shortest piece. So we might lose a lot of it. I'm not 100% sure about that. All right, so this one is going to go this way. So I'm going to hook this to this seam right here. So I'm going to nest this up. I put a clip on it like this. And then this will hang down there, and this will go on here, and it's going to hang over at the top. Okay, so that seam is the one that is nested. Please stay. So I'm going to sew down this side, and then I'm going to sew down this side, and I'm going to just make sure that I keep my seam nested. So I'm going to clip it first, and then sew it through, and then I'll do the same with the opposite side. I just wanted to make sure you knew that we're clipping it to that final seam where your white pieces start going. So at the tip, that's where the white touches the white, and on this one where the white touches the white. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Now that it is sewn, you're going to see you have a strange hangover. Your pieces are messed up. Mine are super messed up because I literally messed up with those cuts. So I'm going to lose a lot off of mine. You will not, because you didn't mess up your cuts. But remember, not all jelly roll strips are the same length. Therefore, this could happen to you as well. And I know that's my shortest one. So this is how we're going to trim it. We're going to use that shortest one as our base for trimming. So I'm just going to keep this border folded like this. And I am going to go ahead now and use my phone as a weight to hold that there. And I'm going to bring you down like this so that you can see me do this. All right, so I'm going to use a long ruler for this. And I'm going to go ahead, and since I have this folded, this gives me a perfect square to line up with. So I'm going to go to this shortest one. I know that's the only one that's short. And I'm also going to square off this end right here, squaring off this end right here, and I am going to start making my cut. So I literally am losing quite a bit. All right, so I have this coming off. Now that we have a straight line established, we're going to smooth this out. I'm trying to keep everything flat. That's why I was using my phone as a weight right here on the table. I'm going to go ahead and fold this one back over as if I just sewed it on. We're going to try to keep this super straight right here. We're going to line this up right here on this that we just cut. I'm going to cut over. I'm lining it up also on the jelly roll strip. I'm just going to cut a little bit more. That way we have enough to get this end. And this is falling as I go. All right, so I'm going to line up the corner right here on this edge. I'm going to make sure that's straight. I'm making sure that this is straight. And I'm going to make that cut. So this is what I cut off of mine. All right, so I'm just going to toss that to the side, and we're going to do that same exact procedure on the other side. So as you can see, I'm just going to lay it this way so that you can see as well if you're cutting this direction. My shortest one looks like it's these right here. I'm going to look at this side. Yeah, these were sticking out a lot more. So I'm going to cut from this side first. Make it nice and straight. Again, I have to use my something as a weight because this is not holding itself properly. All right, it's nice and smoothed out. I'm going to go ahead and find that shortest piece, which is my starter piece. I'm going to line up the edge that I just sewed. It's folded over. Make sure it's covering the end. This side, I'm only getting minute mounts off of when I trim it. That's straight. That's along the thing. I can see on the ruler that these are straight as well. So I'm going to cut up. I'm going to adjust everything. Keep that folded. I'm going to cut over just a little bit more, just a hair over. You can see all these are straight. And I straightened up this side. Just cut a hair and smooth it. Still keeping it straight using a weight on the side. I'm going to line up on this seam right here. I'm going to line up right here on the side that I just cut. Like I said, all of our quilts are going to come out a different size. So this side came with slivers. The other side had big chunks because I had that piece, those couple pieces that I had to sew 500 times because I'm a dummy. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and press this back like this on both of these. And then all we have to do is add some borders. We're going to add one to each side, then to the top and bottom of our background color. And that's going to be 2.5 inches. And then we're going to add all the way around with our accent that we had at 5 inches. See, you can see right here. I lost it right there, a lot of it, because of that mess up cut. But that's okay because it's butting up to white, so it'll be fine. As long as it wasn't like literally at the edge, because it was supposed to be at least like 1.5 inches worth, you know? But we're gonna make this work. All right, and I can't tell you the size that the borders are gonna end up. You know, if you want to measure your quilt top at this point, I can't tell you that size because mine is going to be different from yours, which is going to be different from so-and-so's and so-and-so's. So let me press this and I'll be right back. So I've cut my border pieces. I needed 7 strips. I cut all the selvages off at once. I'm going to take it over to the machine, move the bottom one out of the way. Sew 2, sew 2, sew 2, sew 2, and then you should have 1 left and everything is right sides together. So let me go do that. All right, so my quilt was measured and I have my 2 side borders. So I'm going to go ahead now and attach those. So I'm doing the sides first and then top and bottom. I'm not going to clip now because I really am not in the mood to clip anymore, but I'm going to go ahead and start sewing this and hope that I cut it the right size. It should be. mean, how many times can I make a mistake in one quilt? You know, we probably all say that to ourselves. I know I do all the time because I make lots of mistakes. And you saw all that right here. Just gonna match that and sew a little bit more. And then I'm gonna hold it like this at the two edges. Make sure that everything's flat. And make sure that seam stays where I wanted it. Okay. And sew on down. All right, there's one side. I'm gonna come over here to the other side. Put the end on it. Should be exactly the same size. Hopefully, like the other side, it matches right up. And there's no controlling my cream fabric, so if I'm going to just press these towards the border because that's the way it's going to want to go because it's less bulky. All right. So after I sew this on, I'm going to measure again for my top and bottom for the white fabric. Or cream, because technically I'm using cream. And then sew those on, and then we'll use our accent color to cut 5-inch strips. You should have plenty of fabric left over to do that. And then sew those on. I may have overcut my border strips. I cut 7, but I only needed 5. That's okay, because I have border now for something else. Also, the last and final tip before I get to that second border is when you're sewing these on and when you're ironing and everything, try not to yank or pull on these because they can open up. I sew with a 2.0 stitch length, but you can take the chance of it opening up along the edge, and you don't want that, so just let the fabric sit on top of each other. You can clip or you can pin, whatever suits your needs to keep it from adjusting or moving any way that you don't want it to. But yeah, just be careful. You don't want your seams to pop open from your jelly rolls. You don't really want them to take flight. I know. That was a cheesy joke. Oops, I veered off. How do I do that? Okay. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to cut, obviously, because I only had a small amount left, I'm going to cut 6 5-inch strips. Okay, and that should finish my quilt top. Okay, so here is the original idea, and my new one goes the opposite direction. Ready? There it is. So my new one is completely, it starts out up here and then tapers down. This one starts out up here and tapers down the opposite way. So they are opposite of each other, plus the border is bigger. Everything else is about the same size. So that's it. Now all I need to do is probably piece some fat quarters to make the backing. If you haven't seen my video already, I'll link it in the description below on making backing fabric out of fat quarters. It turned mine, yours will be a little bit different. Mine turned out 63 wide by 68 tall. So again, perfect lap size, just like the other one. But now I just need to make that backing and quilt it up. So thank you for hanging out on this lovely morning for Breakfast at Tiffany's, episode 23. And I will see you in the next Breakfast at Tiffany's, where I don't know what I'll make. Maybe I'll use up the last of the scraps from this. That sounds like a good idea. Let's see what I can make with that. Bye for now.